Welcome to the Leveraged and Loving It podcast, business advice for coaches and thought leaders. And now your host, Renee Hasseldine.
Welcome back to another episode of Leveraged and Loving It. Renee Hasseldine here, and I'm joined by Lorraine Hamilton, who is the owner and principal trainer of Coach School and international executive coach, who I have personally engaged as my own coach way back when. So thrilled to have you here, Lorraine. Great to chat to you again today.
I'm so happy. I always love to get a dose of Renee energy. I'm very happy to be back.
Yay! It's been like catching up with an old friend before we hit record. So yeah, we're having a good time already. All right. So today we're going to be actually talking about blending our hard skills, like our specialist expert or consultant skills, with coaching skills. So it's like the hard and the soft, and how that can actually change the conversation in our industry. So this is, for those of you who are experts at what you do, specialists at what you do, and are wondering, do I need to add some coaching skills into my toolkit? Will that actually help me in my business? So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today, hey?
Yeah, definitely. I think that this was really my why. It's how I got into coaching. So I used to be an engineer in a previous lifetime. And one of the pivotal moments was I had this amazing, technically brilliant manager who had no idea what to do with me as a female engineer in the 90s. He just didn't, and it wasn't for the want of trying. He really did the best that he could. And instead of our communication being the glue for this amazing, work that we were going to do, and we were doing really cutting edge stuff, it was devastating. And it was really devastating to me, and it broke me. And it actually broke my engineering career. I left engineering for a long time because of this inability to communicate. And had he had those coaching skills, things could have looked so different. And I think that my story is not unique at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. And you know what? I think, when we're, I think there's a little bit of your manager in all of us in some ways. And it can be a hard pill to swallow, to kind of acknowledge that in ourselves, that, maybe we are hurting people inadvertently, or we're not doing the best we can with our communication. So can you give us some clues on maybe some reflection we can do personally to see, is this a gap for us? How can we identify that there's a gap for us in our communication skills that we can maybe address?
I think it comes down to a couple of things. One would be not getting the response that you expect in your communication. It's like, oh, I said this, I thought I was going to get this response, but they totally didn't get what I meant. And we can't tell your intention. We can only work on your behavior first and foremost, and then your words. So that's definitely one aspect of it. But I think the opportunity for consultants and experts, service providers in particular, is that if your client isn't communicating with you as best they can, they're not going to get the benefit from your expertise.
Yeah.
So if you can't get the best out of your client, they're not going to get the best out of you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can be tough if you're going in as a third party supplier, like as an external consultant into any business. Then already there is a kind of barrier you need to overcome. And if you don't have those communication skills and those soft skills, the coaching skills, then really it's going to be an uphill battle for you to get any solution implemented, right?
That's right. And what I see in that instance is that we're very good at what we do. We might be very confident in what we do, but there's still that, as you say, you're walking into an unknown. And what I see consultants do over and over and over again is tell. They go, all right, this is what you need to do. I'm going to tell you what you need to do. Here's my process. I've got a thing. It's going to work, without listening first.
Yeah.
And even asking the right questions, because clients will come to consultants all the time and say, okay, I want this result, and not even checking to make sure if they truly do want the result. And that's when it starts to get really interesting to me. It's like, what is their motivation for wanting this thing? Because, I'm getting ahead of us already, but So telling and not clarifying are two really simple things that people can do straight out the gate that are going to make a difference to their results and a difference to the reputation that they're building in their industry.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Now, before we hit record as well, we were talking about one of your clients who was a specialist in their industry. Can you give us a bit of a case study about, you know, someone who is an expert at what they do, you know, technically, and how they've used coaching skills to kind of accelerate their career and where they're going?
Oh, I can give you heaps.
Okay, go. Pick one. Pick a favorite child.
I'll tell you about that one client that we were talking about before. So this is a client, a student of mine who is an academic editor, and she's been an academic editor for a long time. She's a PhD in her own right, and she's been supporting other editors in the industry in terms of mentoring and building the business. There's a challenge in the editing industry, like many others, that people are not being paid well for what they do. And so she found that she was doing quite well and people were coming to her and asking for some business help. Now, usually that would just be raise your prices and then you'll be sweet. And she had a process and what have you, but she came to one of my events earlier this year where we dug really deeply into mindset and some of the tools that I use with my clients. And she completely flipped her approach and decided that she had a workshop coming up, and I think it was literally the week after this event. So she rewrote the workshop to deal.
That's a fast pivot.
It was a huge pivot. We were actually sitting in the room going, are you sure you want to do this? And she's like, no, this is it, I'm going to do it. And I'm like, okay. And she rewrote the workshop. She took out all of the static business stuff, and she really got to the guts of changing how her audience thought and felt about their situation, so that there really was no option other than to change what they were doing.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of the fear away from it. So the workshop was a great success. She made an impact in the room. But what was really pleasing to me was that the organizer, or one of the organizers of the workshop, approached her afterwards and said, that was amazing. We've never seen anything like that. Can you please fly to Canada later this year and do the same workshop for our editors and our editor conference over there? And she's just come back. So she's just come back from doing it again. So it has changed the conversation in the industry, and she is the thought leader in this space and is being seen as this is the person to listen to, just by taking a slightly different approach and dealing with what people are not talking about.
Yeah. Fantastic. So there's a massive opportunity then for people to step up and set themselves apart as a thought leader in their own industries by actually embracing these coaching and communication skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, another client of mine, she's a management consultant, business strategist, and then she came and took on coaching. And actually, she came from the management consulting and strategy and went, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. I've had a horrible experience. I just want to be a coach. And resisted the blend of her two fields for a long time. And when she actually put the two together, she's just soaring now. She's been featured in Forbes multiple times. She's done her TED Talk. She's been featured on Boss Babe, which is like a platform of 2 million now. And her business is absolutely booming because she took the hard stuff and blended it with the soft stuff and changed what people were talking about.
Yes. Now, I think that raises a really interesting trend that I see as well, Lorraine, because I'm also guilty of this, is that when you have a negative experience, like, oh, you know, I've left the corporate world because it was horrible, it was traumatic, you know, something horrible happened, I didn't like it, blah, blah, blah. Like, we can tend to throw the baby out with the bathwater and kind of go, I'm not going to do anything to do with that ever again. And what I'm actually finding this more and more as well with my clients once they're creating their signature systems, and, you know, I'm sure this is happening with, you know, that example you just gave as well, is that actually there is the blend. It's the blend. Bring in what you've got. Don't disregard your past and your skills that you have from the past. That is valuable. Take that forward with you. And also that network you have from, you know, your old corporate career or whatever you're coming from. Blend that in with your coaching skills and your signature. Like, it all becomes, you know, part of the new you. And that is, it's like that synergy of all of that stuff is so much stronger than any of those things on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I struggle with it as well. For a long time, it was like, I'm never going back to engineering. And, you know, but I had this amazing opportunity when I came to New Zealand to take a 6-month contract in an engineering job that lasted 7 years. But it allowed me to take everything that I'd learned from the coaching and apply it in that environment and kind of be the manager that I needed in that previous experience. And so it gave me a lot of closure, and it allowed me to leave with a much happier feeling around the engineering. But that whole sense of, yes, everything that you've done is useful, and that's what makes you unique, and what you're the only person that can offer what you offer because of the blend of your experience and expertise.
Yes. Yeah, I'm just thinking about this. I'm sure you get a lot of this too, Lorraine, because I recently I was working with a client whose background was in nursing, and I was asking her, well, who's your ideal client? And she was doing the like very generalized, I work with women, and I was like, that's not really a niche. And she was totally resisting saying that she works with nurses, and I got her to get back to that because she'd been burnt out. She had compassion fatigue. She really had a her tank was empty from working as a nurse, and she really didn't want to. I'm like, that's all the people that you know exactly what their situation is. You can help those people to have a better experience of being a nurse now that you have all these coaching skills, and you can help them with that thing to go back to that. And that's where all your networks are. You can easily go back in and talk to all the people you already know there and book in talks and do all that stuff. Like, don't throw out those skills that you have. Don't throw out those networks, but you can bring something fresh and new in by adding in your coaching skills and, whatever else that you're bringing in that you've now got. Like, it can be so much easier than just going, oh, I'm just going to be a life coach that works with anybody. It's like, no, you're going to end up working with nobody like that.
And do you know what happens? Because this does happen to me. I've got two ways of teaching people coaching skills. I've got my coaching skills diploma, which is for any consultant, expert, service provider who just wants the skills and they don't want to be a life coach or a full-time coach. I get that. You just want the secret sauce. That's cool. But then I do have people who they're in exactly that situation. They're like, I've had a horrible experience. I need to get out of my career. I want to help people. I'm going to become, and I'm going to be a coach. And of those people that have come to me for my certification program, eventually they will go back to what they know, and they will bring the skills of coaching back to what they know. It's like they just need a little break. And I still have soft spot for engineers, a real soft spot for engineers.
You know their pain.
Yes, and
you also know the fun bits of being an engineer.
You've got that empathy, and you know what it's like to be in the trenches with that person. But you can also bring in what you've learned from coaching and really empower as opposed to.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, this just feels like the flavor of what I'm going through in my business. I know, we were talking about this as well before, is that business has seasons, and we have these, and the first time you hit winter in your own business can be absolutely terrifying because it feels like everything is dead and it's all over and it's not working and it's time to give up. But yeah, do you want to share with me a little bit about your experience of winter in your own business and how you approach it now?
I'm actually thinking back, because there's so many stories that I'm trying to pick out the right one. And I remember that initial fear of, oh my God, where have all the clients gone, when you're just doing one-on-one and everything is, you're just looking from one client to the next client to the next client. And it's really, really scary. And I did that while I still had my engineering career. So what the interesting thing that happened there was that I would flip-flop from, I'm really going to make a go of my business. Oh, my business isn't working that well, so I think I'm going to make a go of my career. So, I really don't think that I'm built for the corporate world for the long term. Oh, I'll go back to my business. Oh, and it kept me in this holding pattern for quite a long time until I stepped out and went fully into my business. And then you really have to just feel it. And that's
when there's no backup plan, winter hurts.
Backup plan, you just have to feel it. And I remember when I had stepped out of my career, and that was such a big, it was a big decision that I had to make, because there was nothing wrong with my career. I loved my career at that point. My business was getting too big, my job was getting too big, and I had to pick. And I remember just sitting in my kitchen, having made that decision to leave my career and the safety and all of that stuff, and just sobbing and allowing myself to feel. Like, I'd never done that before. I'd always been brought up the don't feel sad, don't feel angry, don't feel scared, avoid all of these feelings. And I actually allowed myself to feel with no agenda, no trying to fix things, no trying to work out how, just feeling. And that was a moment that has really carried me through these winters since then, because it taught me that I would survive. It taught me that I could feel those feelings and still be okay. And then I can pick myself up and decide what I'm going to do next. And that has just, I just got this, I can feel it in my gut even talking about it. I just have this confidence that even though things don't go according to plan sometimes, I know I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And that gives, I think, you know, we talked about the space of how things evolve and they change how they look, and what we worked on all those years ago is very different to what you're doing now, and I'm doing things to what I thought I would be doing. We don't need to know what it's going to look like if you've got that sense of, I'm going to be okay. And it's not confidence or arrogance or bloody mindedness or ego. It's just that deep sense of just trust, and you'll figure it out.
Yeah, I've always figured it out before, and I'll figure it out again.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I think is also interesting about that story? Like, I'm visualizing you in your kitchen crying, but also there's something about that grieving process that allows you to close a chapter properly to move into the next one. Because if you had stopped yourself from feeling that, potentially you could have felt like the door, that chapter was still left open and you could go back into it, right? So it's almost, I found that, you know, I'm just like thinking back to me in my past relationships and boyfriends that I didn't completely grieve properly in the past. And then I would hold on to that relationship and hope it was going to come back.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't properly grieved the end of the relationship and let it go entirely. Like it was like this holding on. And so we can do that with our careers and with relationships and even with ways of running our business, right? So, you know, there was part of that for me with my national tours is I had to really let go of running my national tours and be completely finished with it so that I could move into this next phase, which is now working again. So it's like, yes! But I wasn't scared in winter this time, even when the sales died. But I remember my first few winters being absolutely terrified that I was broken, my business was broken, this was not going to work for me, and I needed to just give up, and maybe my mother-in-law was right and I should go and get a job, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, luckily I'm stubborn and I don't like being wrong, so I would just like pick myself up and get through that. But it was really, really uncomfortable. So I think, you know, for you and I who've been in business for a long time now, it's I think reassuring for the newbies to just say winter is like, business comes in cycles, and something that is working really, really well and you're getting lots of traction and attracting lots of clients, and, you know, it feels like everything's fantastic and you're winning and everything's great. The harvest is amazing, all those juicy fruits. That all feels great. And then winter comes and you're like, hold on, but I didn't change anything. And sometimes, you know, actually we have changed, or the market has changed, or something has changed, and what was working is no longer working. And I think it's important for us to be aware that that's coming. Winter is coming. You can't stop winter coming. It will come. But when it comes, know that you will be okay. And it's winter, and that means spring is around the corner.
Yeah, and I think another thing that that kind of insulates me a little bit from that is that I know that I'm always going to have one-on-one clients. So I keep my one-to-one practice going. It doesn't need any advertising. It doesn't need, you know, it's all referral based. People know me. I've got a waiting list right now. That funds the other stuff. So if I'm looking at, you know, I'll be dabbling in this marketing approach or that thing or this coach or that. I'm always learning. We're the same. We're always learning, always trying new things. There is no one thing. And although there are plenty of people who will tell you that there's only one thing, there's not just one thing. So I have my courses, I have events, I have my one-on-one practice. So I'm not relying solely on one means for my income, and that certainly has served me very well. It might not be the trendy thing to say, but that has worked for me. It really has. And I know that those one-on-ones are paying my bills, or I know that those retreats that I get paid to deliver content at, they kept me going for a number of years because I knew that I was paying my bills.
Yeah. And I think you can still be leveraged. You can still be leveraged and run one-on-one.
Yes.
Like I've gone back to running one-on-one. I'm running Game Changer and Authority Accelerator one-on-one now. And people might say, well, that's not leverage and loving it. Actually, it is, because the way that it is now structured and systemized is that it involves very little of my own personal one-on-one time, right? Yeah. I've got it set up and structured, and I've got my team so that I can really get in, get out, move on, like really super, super fast. So it is leverage, but the clients are not suffering from a lower quality service because of the way that we've structured and built all the systems around it. So you can totally be leveraged and run one-on-one, and it's so much easier to sell one-on-one.
It is. And I mean, that's how I run coach school. And coach certifications are not done one-on-one. They're usually, you're 30 people, you get pushed through a cohort, people get dropped off. I've always done my certification as a one-on-one model.
I did not realize that.
Yeah. So it's heavily leveraged, and people have the opportunity to, interact with the other students, and we have group calls, but actually the actual program is one-on-one. So it's rolling enrollment, start whenever you want to start, and you've got me in your back pocket for the first year. So it's actually a one-on-one model with the leverage components as additional bonuses. It's not a big course where people get lost.
Wow, that is amazing. You need to be speaking more loudly about that. I had no idea after all this time that you did it one-on-one. That is amazing. Okay, if you want coaching skills, you now definitely need to go to Lorraine, because she is the best, and you get one-on-one attention. That is amazing.
Thank you.
Wow, that is super, super cool. I had not realized. And I love the way, Lorraine, that you, this is probably why we connect so well, is that you will buck the trends. You will not just do group because that's what everybody else is doing. You will not just, create a funnel because that's what everyone else is doing. You're not just you will just go, actually, no, I'm going to do it the way that works for me, and this is the way that works for me. And I love that.
As an engineer, I take everything apart and then put it back together again in a way that works a little bit better for me. I think and also the coaching and the questioning, it's looking at things and going, yeah, okay, that sounds good in principle, but does it work for me?
Yeah.
And I guess that comes full circle to when we started the conversation about, what's the opportunity for consultants to go into organizations and do something differently. It's like, well, what's going to work for the client? Am I really taking the time to help the client get to know what's going to work for them? I think that our consultants rely too heavily on clients telling them what they want. And in my experience of working with so many people over so many years, what I've learned is that a lot of people don't know what they want. And if you can give them an experience of seeing what they want and why they want it, then they are your biggest fan.
Yeah.
And that's what coaching allows you to do. That's what allows you to bring into your consulting and your whatever teachings or mentorings or trainings that you create.
Yeah. So what other benefits can specialists expect by, adding this into adding coaching skills into their toolkit? So, yes, they can get international speaking gigs, what else sort of benefits can they expect?
I think there's lots and lots of benefits. One, it takes a lot of the pressure of having to know everything. So I think experts feel a lot of pressure of, I need to know everything, and they feel beholden to their clients in some cases, like you're not having to answer questions at 3 o'clock in the morning, and not feeling like You have to be up with the plate all the time, and your pricing, these are all stories from people that I've worked with. You know, their pricing is suppressed because they think, oh, but what if there's something I don't know and I'm supposed to be the expert? It takes a lot of that pressure away, because you can bring all of the knowledge that you have, but by knowing how to partner with your client, it makes them do a little bit more of the work, and so that you can get a much better result at the end. So they get exactly what they want, even though they probably didn't even know what they wanted. But you are able to deliver that, and you can deliver it in a way that they feel part of the process. But you still get a lot of the credit for being the person that can change the way they think and feel about a challenge. And that's the difference. When you can change the way that someone thinks and feels about something that they find hard, then they are going to listen to everything that you say, because you've given them an experience that has changed their reality. And that's what coaching does. So if you imagine what that will do for your reputation and your referral network and repeat business, and as well as having the ability to have something interesting to say in your industry, and get those speaking gigs and have people walk out going, I feel differently about this now. And you are right there ready to help them.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I've seen all of this happen, and I'm just reflecting like, yep. Agree with all of that. Love it. All right, Lorraine. So I know we could speak all day, but we're going to have to wrap it up, unfortunately. If their curiosity is piqued and they're like, okay, I need to find out more about this, how can I do that? Where should they go?
So you should definitely go to coachschool.academy or www.coachschool.academy, and there you will find all the information about all of my courses, but you'll also find my masterclass 5 Steps to Impact and Influence, which is really designed for people who don't necessarily want to be coaches, but they want to see maybe what they might be unconsciously doing wrong, and how to make that a bit easier on yourself, on your clients, and have a greater impact and influence.
Awesome. All right. That is www.coachschool.academy. We'll make sure the link is in the show notes as well. Thank you so much, Lorraine, for being back on the show. Great to speak to you as always.
Thank you for having me back, and I look forward to next time.
Yay! You've been listening to Renee Hasseltine and Lorraine Hamilton on Leveraged and Loving It. I'll speak to you again next week.
For all the downloads and links mentioned in this episode, head to shareyourpassion.com.au.